Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. In this video, we're going to be comparing an Emanator, the Herta, together with Feixiao, who is the better investment value for your account. Now, the last time we did this video with another Emanator, Akirion, Feixiao was actually the rising star in the game. A lot of people think that Akirion will be like number one. There's no way Feixiao will be contesting at all. But time has told, in the end, Feixiao definitely is very, very competitive. But the question is, now with a new Emanator, who's actually better value for your overall account now that you can pull both of them in 3.0 first half? RIP our resources, man. Why do they have to do a quad banner that is so good in the first half? But anyways, with all of these videos, I like to make it as logical as I can, without emotional bias, just comparing for different categories that we will see in this video. And if you care about my personal bias, I'll leave it all the way at the end for any of you who care about any stuff like that. Now, first things first, I always like to talk about current value first, because if you are spending your stellar jades, your resources that you saved up, deciding between each of these, you have to get good value, because you might as well just, if they are better off in the future, just pull them on a rerun, save your resources, pull something else, pull a light cone or the other characters as well coming out in 3.0, as you will have videos on the channel as well, or perhaps you're saving up for new characters that's coming in Amphorius too. So in this section here, which one offers better value? Now, in my opinion, the resources needed to actually build their teams are very, very different. Feixiao's teams is playing into follow-up attacking teams, which arguably is quite expensive to run. If you look at her current teammates that she fulfills, she probably wants to play into premium characters, for example like Robin, for example like Aventurine, and other characters maybe like, for example, Topaz and Nambi. Some people are playing more Ze as well. You can play him if you wanted to. Some of these options are available, but her teams are definitely very, very premium. If you do not have a lot of follow-up attacking characters in your roster as well, you'll find her a bit trickier to run. For those of you who haven't upgraded, you skip Feixiao, maybe you are running Doctor Ratio and you want to like solidify your follow-up team compositions, that's where she really, really excels in. Or perhaps you are looking for a wind damage dealer because you don't have the element checked out in wind. Notice that there's not really many key wind damage dealers in the game currently, as we'll talk about in the alternative section. That is where she really shines in the current meta. She has very strong existing teams, very good, slightly premium, no doubt, but it does exist, and she is really very strong in those categories as well. Very solid roster. On the flip side, if you look at the Herta, now Herta's current value in the game is really introducing a new playstyle of playing things, introducing erudition characters back into the game, bringing more of them back in. Currently, to be honest, erudition, aside from Rapper, aside from Super Break Kimiko, erudition, there's much to be desired about them as a whole. They aren't really like super meta and stuff like that. Herta's current value offers you a change, allows you to play multiple erudition characters together as well, very similar to the likes of Akirion, and some would argue that it even creates an entirely new branch. So while currently we have like 3 branches of Feixiao together with Akirion, together with a character, for example, like Firefly, the three musketeers, so to speak, maybe Rapper as one of the other ones as well, as an alternative to Firefly. But with these 3 combinations, one is tried and tested, one is true. The other, you would definitely want to let it get tested as well. More videos that we'll put out on the channel as well coming out, evaluations on these characters. So depending on your style, one is a premium team, very, very well established. The other brings about a new meta. These 2 characters are definitely a lot better for later game players, especially if you have a wide enough roster as well. But between the 2 of them, we'll talk about in our free-to-play section. We'll discuss which is better if you're a totally new player. So stick around. This section is really talking about current value in the current game state, especially if you are a slightly more older player in the game so far. If I were to give it to a win in terms of the broadness of team compositions that they carry, I feel that the current value, both of them are roughly equal. They will both shine brighter. The real distinguishing factor is, has it been tried, has it been tested? And in that case, Feixiao has already withstood relatively good amounts of test of time. She already has good performance, good ratings, and I would say that this category, I'll give it to Feixiao as well. Whereas for the Herta, needs to be more testing, so that one is a question mark, which we will cover more in a short while as well on the channel. Second part, this is where really it starts to differentiate each other, alternatives. Both of these units are very special because there's very little other elemental application for these 2 elements. We are in a crowded space for lightning, for example, imaginary. These elements are like so popular already. But wind and ice, on the other hand, are actually not very popular elements. If you look at the ice category, the other top tier DPS in the game of the past is probably Jingliu as an ice tackler. If you are looking for ice right now, ice application, which hasn't been meta for a really, really long time, by the way, the only access you probably will be using some sort in your team comps is like maybe small Herta, maybe Misha, which I don't think any large majority of you are playing. Let us know in the comments below if you are playing Misha in your main teams. You are a Giga Chat, my guy. But outside of this, probably no one else is really your main ice damage dealer for the Herta. On the other hand, if you're talking about win, if you go over to the win category, who else is like super relevant? Like maybe Blade to some extent. People might be playing him of the past. Again, it's a very, very dated DPS as well in the win category. You have Black Swan here, but she's not fantastic at win breaking either. No pun intended, no win breakers here. But at the end of the day, you are looking for a solid, if you are looking for like a solid windbreaker, you need to look for DPSs like Feixiao, or perhaps maybe even like some people consider Sampo as really decent as well. Imagine if Sampo can be compared with the other 5 stars, it shows how lacking the win category is in terms of damage dealing on the weakness breaking for win weakness enemies. In this category, definitely I think Feixiao shines a lot. Herta also shines a lot, but between the rarity between both of them, I think Herta is slightly more rare because there are fewer alternatives. Blade, Black Swan, you can still get by a lot, and Sampo is a really, really strong alternative if you're just looking for like win application in terms of like DPS. At the same time, if we take away Elemental, now instead of like just focusing on win element, ice element, now we talk about function of playstyle in terms of alternatives. The true answer, and this is where it starts to split apart their rating, and you will see much more clearer from this point onwards, is there are a lot of alternatives for follow-up attacking characters. You have Dr. Rachel, who is really solid as well, who a lot of people have been using free of charge. You can use a lot of other characters. You even have characters like Mozi if you wanted to go out down the follow-up attacking line. You even have March 7th Hunt as well, which is also a great alternative to play in these categories. Do you need a premium option like Feixiao? The answer probably is if you really wanted to solidify your roster. However, if you go onto the flip side of things, if you go over to the Herta section, that's when it becomes a lot different. If you're talking about an enabler for erudition teams, where you bring new characters into the game for the erudition meta, it's really very few and far between. The only other character I can think of who doesn't mind maybe playing with a couple of erudition characters probably is Jade. Maybe because of her semi-support ability, maybe Himiko in the pure fiction game mode, but she doesn't really benefit from having a teammate that's erudition. Maybe Rapper, because Rapper doesn't mind a secondary DPS, but none of them specialize in bringing out the best of their class. That's why erudition is like dumped in the dirt right now. And that's where Herta really excels, the Herta, 5-star Herta, where she brings in an entirely new playstyle and putting multiple characters of the erudition class together in the same team. And that's where I think she shines, which means that maybe we might have erudition supportive characters in future specific for that role. Who knows? But definitely in terms of alternatives category, I have to give it to Herta here. Much rarer element, equally rare as Win arguably, but at the same time, she brings about a new style that no one else currently offers, and that uniqueness definitely gives her a lot of points in this too. And now, of course, looking at current state is not very, very helpful. We also want to know, because we want to know, make sure that our dollar's value goes the longest way possible. If we are choosing a character right now, we want our money to go the longest way. And in this section, we're going to talk about both of them. In terms of future value, what does the future hold for both of them? And really, when we talk about future value, it's mainly power creep. If they are better in future because they don't have their supports in the team right now, or their DPSs, very high likelihood of getting power crap, it might not be that good to pull a particular character, or maybe even better to pull in a rerun, etc. And for these two characters, because they are DPSs, we want to look at how exposed are they to power creep. Between the two of them, Feixiao has been around for a while already. She's already been out for a while, her premium teams are established. If you're talking about more characters coming into the game, coming in, you are likely going to have to replace some of your already existing roster like Robin, perhaps like Aventurine and stuff like that, making her future value actually quite bleak, and her power creep down the line, she's already been out for like a good 6 months as of time of recording, and she definitely is going to face much more challenge because her time is up, her rerun is here already. After this, there might be less incentive to actually monetize this character. Between the two of them, in terms of power creep value, the Herta actually offers a lot more good comparison, and we can just simply look at the likes of another Emanator, for example like Akirion. Akirion definitely came into the state where you didn't have too many mega OP Nihility characters. For example, like back then, we didn't even have Jiao Qiu. We didn't even have, for example, Fucc. All we had was like Pella, was Kafka, Black Swan, you have Welt, you had Sampo, you had Silver Wolf and stuff like that, which weren't exactly excellent. That's why back then Akirion E2 was like so good. It still is till today, but now we have a lot more options to choose from. Similarly, the Herta is released at the time, but it's very similar to Akirion back then. You don't really have true specialists to play together with her in the same team. You have some characters that do bring out a little bit in her, but no one exactly fit for her. So if you're talking about future characters that they can sell you in the game, likely the Herta is going to benefit a lot from this trend because her premium teams aren't even out yet. Probably right now, and we of course will have a teams video for the Herta on the channel. You can check it out once it's ready. If you're watching this sometime in future, it probably already is. And if you have Jade together with Herta, it's not even like the best combo. So likely you can expect more future characters coming up to benefit Herta, and you want to capitalize on Herta right now if you want to carry your account. If there's like a DPS increase and stuff like that, you definitely, and a more AoE requirement, definitely Herta is one to watch out for to add to your roster as well. So in terms of future value, I think the future looks a little bit brighter for Herta, just because DPSs at the front end, when they are really introduced in a growing meta state, they do have a curve. So it goes up slightly as more and more supports come in. They peak off, for example, once all their premium teams come out, similar to like the likes of Firefly, and then they start dipping a little bit once more competition comes out, or maybe when they are rotated out of meta. Very similar to like the Akirion trend. Immediately shot up and then hovered very nice long period of time and then started to come down towards the end. I think the Herta is much more stronger, and I'll give her a win in the future value category in terms of surviving power creep between the two of them. And of course, not only do we need to look at meta trends, power creep, talking about how they sustain their value, we also need to ask ourselves the trends of Hoyoverse. We've been playing their games for many years, 4 to 5 years now, and there are a lot of similarities that they do and a lot of trends that we observe as well. So between both of them, one of the things that makes a lot of sense is lore backing. If your characters are very relevant in lore, they have, for example, like Topaz and Nambi, and a lot of people supporting them, a lot of people liking them, like for example, like Akirion and stuff, they tend to be more relevant in the game state, kept in a little bit longer because you want to bring them back. It makes money for them to have screen time. It makes no sense to bring back a character that everyone hates and no one likes, totally out of meta, that people forget. It just doesn't make them much popularity and money. It's after all a company. And between the two of them, the Herta has so much more popular backing. Very similar to like Akirion, who taps on like the Raiden Mei, Raiden Shogun kind of backing as well. The Herta, people love her Guru all the way since back in like CBT 1, CBT 2, way back in like 2022, 2023, many years by now. And she definitely has a very strong anchor backing as well. Making Hoyoverse, if they want to power creep her, push her out of existence, they have to think twice about that because they are striking a very sensitive chord of Hoyoverse gamers, Honkai style gamers, who are maybe a bit unhappy right now with the double quad banner system and power creep situation. But that's, I think, something that is useful to know. Whereas, for example, Feixiao, a little bit dated by now. Her whole Xianzhou, Luofu backing and stuff like that does seem to be a bit lacking. We know that we're going to Amphorus 8 patches back to back, which means we might not see another Xianzhou character coming in for a very good amount of time. After that, it's like the Fate collab kind of thing, and we might not be able to see a lot of Feixiao shining. So between the two of them, I have to give it a little bit more to the Herta, in fact quite a bit more in the future value section. It just makes a lot of sense to go with Herta in terms of potential category based on what Hoyoverse likes to do and based on the backing that these characters have in terms of popularity. Now, free-to-play point of view. Now, flipping over to the flip side, if you're talking about total free-to-play teams, both of them excel in very good resources. There are a lot of options available as well in terms of Hunt-like cones. For Feixiao, you have some 4-star alternatives, but there are premium options for Feixiao. Her light cone is also super strong. Her Eidolons are also super strong, as we compared already on the channel. We did like E0 all the way E6 comparison if you're interested, whether her light cone is more important and stuff like that. Check that out. Those are all still relevant as well on the channel. For the Herta, on the other hand, she is exposed to a lot of characters. You have the free tiny Herta that can play together, more teams on the channel as well. You have other standard characters, for example like Himiko, which are all meta-relevant characters. that can already be played. Erudition, Light Cone, although aren't the best in terms of free to play, they aren't the worst either. You can get by with decent alternatives which gives you good amounts of attack. Unfortunately, you do want a little bit more like crit rate, crit damage, which are a bit harder to find on Erudition Light Cones in general. Hunt Light Cones, I'll give it to them. Hunt is a lot cheaper to get good Light Cones because of cruising in the Stellar Sea, the Herta shop free Light Cone. Whereas Erudition, not so much. Not that great, but still decent overall. In terms of roster, Erudition, a lot cheaper. A lot of them are still meta relevant. For Feixiao, and they had a bit more premium options. All in all, I would say this is like more or less a tie in terms of both of them. There aren't really any clear winners, clear standout winners, but maybe I'll have to give it to Feixiao just a little bit more, simply because you have a very good solid cruising in the Stellar Sea, which is one less thing to worry about, especially if you're comparing with Signature. Herta with Signature might be a lot more desirable compared to Herta without, but again, more videos on the channel shortly. And at this point of time, of course, talking about all of them, what is my overall rating? And this is what I want to share with you honestly as well. Between both of them, my gut feel tells me that the Herta is going to be the wiser pick, and I want you guys to gravitate towards Herta as well. The only exception, if you are not gravitating towards Herta, is because perhaps you already have the full roster of characters lined up for Feixiao, you're preparing for her rerun, and this is the best time for you to fill in that final piece to the puzzle. In that case, Feixiao does look a little bit more tempting if you have all the pieces lined up. However, if you don't have all the pieces lined up, Herta definitely will make more sense for the long term for your account. Picking up her up now will give you the longest term benefit for this character so that you can see the entirety of her runway being successful, going up, and then eventually being very good for your overall account. Whereas a character like Feixiao honestly is towards the tail end of her success. The question is, can you take the risk of a power creep coming in closer? And that's my honest recommendation. If you like such videos, you like such honest content, and you're wondering, what about the other characters on the current banners as well? Lingsha, Jade, or how about even Aglia? We compare them all on our channel. Check it out. Thank you guys again so much for watching. See you guys in one of these two other videos. Bye bye now.